Can Max Strus make a frickin' shot? Can Caleb Martin make a frickin' shot? Can someone other than Bam Adebayo and Haywood Highsmith actually show up to play for the Miami Heat and make some shots? Like, I liked the Heat in the series. I bet the Heat last night. I actually walk away from last night thinking, like, this was actually a golden opportunity for the Miami Heat to steal a game on the road. Because you're right, like, they did good things defensively. Denver only scored 104 points and, like, had him at arm's length the entire game because Miami couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, this to me felt like a big-time missed opportunity, Ken, for the Miami Heat, where Miami, they don't need to shoot as well as they did against like Milwaukee or the Knicks. They didn't have to go nuclear from downtown here. They have like a halfway decent game from downtown, and I think this is a different story last night. I mean, if Max Strus makes a couple more threes last night, it's an interesting game, as opposed to as many as you and I made sitting on the couch with the Nintendo Switch on. 0. Brutal.
It's like annoying when this final starts this way. And it's not even like, I'm not even a Celtics fan. Like those people are just catatonic right now. Cause it's like, really? You guys are going to shoot like 2% in this game? Really? The whole series can't miss the whole series. And you're like, to get to this round, which is supposed to be like the most fun round we have. And this series might suck the most. I mean, this really might be brutal. It really might.
Do you think it's going
to? They look hurt. Well, they look bad.
Do you think that's what it's going to be?
I think it's going to be like. I think it might be like a sweep. I actually think it might be. So I don't know what the answers are. Okay, they can shoot better. Sure, like Strus can make more shots, and Caleb Martin can make more shots, and Butler can play better, and the Nuggets can make more shots too, and like can also make adjustments. Just I don't know what they're going to do against like everything that they did against Boston. And this is where Gallagher comes on yesterday and he nails it. And so does everybody. But like he nailed it on our show where it's like, look, Miami flummoxed Boston with the zone. The Nuggets are like the best team against the zone in the history of the playoffs. So that's not going to work. Okay, like Boston was, Miami was able to like mitigate the effectiveness of Boston's best players because Jaylen Brown and Tatum didn't play great series for a lot of the time. Okay, well, Jokic is on that team and they got absolutely nothing for him. So like, what is this going to be? And like, why should we expect it to be different? Like I'm just sitting here and being like, I kind of thought this was possible. I agreed with the series price that they were really likely to win. I feel the exact same today, except now it's 1-0. We're closer to the end. And I don't know, like really, like it's going to be way different. It doesn't feel like that at all. And maybe that means there's some opportunity to be contrarian and bet Miami again. I don't want to. I don't know if I'm going to want to bet Miami one time in the whole series. I really don't. I just kind of noticed this where we all really like Jimmy Butler. Like, I'm glad he had this postseason. Like, it was fun. It's like, it's awesome. I know he's trying to like copyright a bunch of stuff. He's trying to do like Himmy Buckets clothing or something. I don't know what he's trying to do, but whatever.
That makes me not like him as much.
Well, he already has the coffee, right, from the last finals appearance. Like, remember he like started the coffee company or something. He got like a lot of these things.
I feel like that's kind of charming though. Like the whole coffee thing in the bubble. Like I was like, okay, like it's kind of a cool story. Like Himmy Butler, like is not charming. That's just like, okay, buddy. It's like you've jumped the shark a little bit here.
But I think, because like I think his Q rating, and look, like NBA superstars, you can find half the people that think that guy's awesome and the other half like slander him mercilessly. Like that's how NBA superstars usually work in terms of how like NBA fans talk about them. But like everybody, like Jimmy Butler's Q rating is probably higher than every other NBA player. Like everyone likes him. Everyone thinks like he's awesome for basketball and he does cool stuff. He's had like one 30-point game in 3 weeks. Like if Jason Tatum had these 3 weeks, people want to trade Jason Tatum. Like if James Harden had these 3 weeks, be like classic Harden, not showing up in a big spot. Like it's been forever. He's done nothing for a long time.
And there's an excuse for him, right? And Gallagher said it, is that he's hurt. So like and Tatum was hurt also, but to your credit,
right.
And like
Tatum wasn't hurt. Embiid wasn't hurt.
That's what that's exactly
LeBron wasn't hurt.
The point. That's exactly the point that I'm making, right? Is that with these other players, it's like Tatum could be hurt. He plays poorly. No one cares that he's hurt. With Jimmy Butler, it's like that's the excuse is that, well, the ankle isn't healthy.
The ankle. It's actually, that's what it is. And again,
he's like weirdly exempt from the criticism.
Right.
He's like weirdly exempt.
We all like him. So like, I don't ever feel like we learned anything. And I just, are they going to make threes or not? That's like kind of what they want it to come down to.
And Jokic kind of feels a little bit like Mariano Rivera to me at this point now. And we talked about this in the Lakers series, right? Whenever like in the Western Conference Final, whenever the Lakers would be like attempting their comeback in any of the 4 games, or the game would be like somewhat close in the fourth quarter or like in the third quarter, Jokic would just get the ball and he would either score or make like an insane pass that would lead to an easy bucket for his teammates, right? So I don't think the Heat were ever going to come back and win the game last night. So that's not like what I'm trying to say here. But there were a couple moments where the Heat were threatening to cover the spread or to make the game close, like cut it to 10 a couple times, right? And then what would happen immediately? Jokic would make some ridiculous shot and get fouled. Jokic would make some ridiculous pass. Like, he's kind of like the Terminator, man. Like, he's on another. That doesn't mean that the Nuggets are definitely going to win the series. Probably going to win the series. But he's inevitable. He's ridiculous. And every time Miami came within like shouting distance of making the game somewhat close, winning my bet for me, here's Jokic. Nope, no win for you. We're just going to win this game by double digits, and that's going to be it. And that's exactly what happened. So yeah, it's just like I feel like he's almost like ascending to like a new level at this point now on like with the spotlight the brightest. And he feels like a closer in Major League Baseball to me.
Using this exercise, the Phillies are, because they made it last year, pretty interesting team. I mean, the most interesting team in both leagues is the Mets. That's the most interesting one by far. And the Mets are going to be a really interesting one. And this is sort of like when we talked about how bad the Warriors were on the road in the regular season. And people were like, well, I know that's how it usually works, but the Warriors are different because they've had a lot of success and we thought they were going to be really good. And they have a lot of excuses for why they would have been bad on the road. The team didn't play as much together. Wiggins wasn't around for a while. Curry was hurt for a little bit. So like, it was a lot of like, well, this one's going to be a little different. And I think with the Mets, people will be like, well, wait a minute. Like Scherzer and Verlander together really just became a thing. Like they just finally are kind of like now saying like Senga is finally going to start pitching on normal rest in his next start. Hasn't been pitching on normal rest the whole season. Has been getting an extra day or more because like in Japan, that's how they do their rotations. So like maybe it can be a little different. Like maybe the Mets are a team where, well, I don't care that they stunk in May because they spent $1 billion and they got all these guys and the pitchers were hurt and whatever. And like, cool. But sort of like with the Warriors road, I guess it's kind of like, or this still matters, or you should still have won more games in May, or that should have still happened. So I think the Mets, the Brewers are another team that went under 500. So Phillies, Brewers, Padres, but I think the Mets are the really interesting one because you're not sure whether to believe yet what they are because they've had so many excuses for how they played.
But joining us right now to talk all things Stanley Cup Final, who's going to win, who's going to win the Conn Smythe, maybe some news around the National Hockey League as well, is our pal, the aforementioned Dennis Bernstein, on Twitter at DennisTFP. Does an awesome job for our friends over at the Fourth Period and Sirius XM NHL Radio.
In terms of the series, Dennis, if you had to make a bet right now on the winner, even game one, it kind of is like, yeah, because you could see it going either way. The betting market kind of agrees with you. Pretty toss-up series. Vegas bet -125, Florida +105 to win the Stanley Cup. Who wins? How long does it go? And then maybe we'll get a Conn Smythe prediction from you after this answer.
Yeah, I already have on the record with respect to our picks at thefourthperiod.com and for SiriusXM. I like Vegas in 6. I like, believe it or not, Jonathan Marchessault because he schemes to score every game. I think he'll have opportunity to score goals in this. So that's a little bit of a value play with respect to Marchessault because we mentioned other players like Eichel, like Carlson, but I like Marchessault. So Vegas in 6 with Marchessault winning because here's the thing, Ken, they're the better team. Like top to bottom, player 1 through 20, they have the better team. But, you know, if you counted out Florida, don't ever count them out because they beat Boston, the best team ever. They beat Toronto, which is a really good team, and they beat the best defensive team in the league in Carolina. Is there any reason they can't beat Vegas? No. That's why I think this is a long series. They'll find ways to win. They score big goals at big times. Matthew Tkachuk's been the guy. But this is a physical team. They won't ask for any quarter. They won't take a step back on Vegas. They will get in the game. They will take penalties. They will be physical. They'll do stuff after the whistle. I think this sets up to be a really, really good series because there isn't much to separate these teams, and I love the physicality of both teams. So I think we'll see more like regular season games than these cautious games that you sometimes see in the playoffs. I think they're just going to go, balls to the wall and really hit each other hard. So I think, again, Vegas in 6, Marchessault as your Conn Smythe winner.